WOGL HD3 Philadelphia, a radio.com station. And now, live from the Malamut and Associates Law Studios. Welcome to Style Club Radio with Philadelphia's own Josh DeMarco, an international star who's reshaping the men's grooming business around the world.
Men's grooming is more than just hair, right? It's you know, there's a great saying, and it's so simple. It really is so simple. If you look good, feel good, do good.
The co-host of Style Club Radio, it's Philly's superstar of design and self-proclaimed creator of tomorrow's unique style, Steve-Ella Sanchez.
You know what I mean? So it's basically a head-to-toe look. So with your clothes, your hairstyle, the facial hair, however you like carry yourself, you know, it's your accessories, all of that kind of has to go together.
This is Style Club Radio with Josh DeMarco, Steve-Ella Sanchez, Michelle Miller, and friends from around the fashion globe. Presented by True Beauty Concepts, one of Philadelphia's most iconic providers of everything style. And now, Style Club Radio. Style Club Radio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Style Club Radio. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Steve-Ella.
Hey, hi friends, it's Steve-Ella.
And our wonderful sidekick, Michelle Miller.
Sidekick? I've been demoted this week.
Oh, well, what do you like to go by?
I don't know. On-air producer, booker,
Sidekick.
extraordinary person.
That all means sidekick.
Oh, okay. Great.
Fabulosa.
Fabulous.
Oh, wait, no, isn't that dish soap? Fabulosa?
Maybe at the bodega. I don't know.
Anyway.
I
think it's a clothing soap.
clothing. Oh.
Yeah, so
oh,
you're Fabulosity.
Oh, there you go. Fabulosity.
Well, guys, we have, before we get into the Fabulosity guest, who we have a great guest tonight. It's a near and dear friend of mine. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet, but he's a great guy, and I can't wait to actually pick his brain. Let's just say, if you know the name Don Draper, you might know who this guy is.
They could be related.
So, right now, there's so much going on in the news. I mean, I've never had so much news information in my life. I mean, everywhere you look, it's like every day. It's insane. It's like you hear the craziest story of your life, and then tomorrow something crazier happens.
Right.
So if you know me, you know that I'm a huge conspiracy theorist.
Are you, though?
Oh, yes, I am. Yes. Michelle.
I wouldn't say that you believe in them, but you love to hear about them.
Yeah, of course. Okay. I love them. I think they're fascinating, and I think that whether you believe them or not, they're just cool. So what do you think about?
They're just cool.
Yeah, they are.
Well, let me just jump in for a second before we get started on this topic, whatever the topic is.
Unknown.
I kind of try to stay away from the news a bit for myself, and I know that might sound strange, or some people might think that that's not a good thing, but I feel like, you just have to, I know you need to be in the know, but at the same time, sometimes it really strikes me, and then it bothers me all day, and it kind of ruins my day sometimes.
Oh, I completely understand.
So that's why I try to not completely get into it. So I might not know what we're talking about.
We will teach you about this subject.
Wonderful.
Let me jump in really quickly and give you a rundown.
Okay.
We are going to be discussing Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire, supposedly of owning a hedge fund, but there is definitely some question as to how he became a billionaire.
Okay.
He was indicted for pedophilia and some other sex acts against women, sex trafficking and other things. He has ties to incredible people around the world with enormous amounts of influence,
and wealth.
And wealth, yeah, absolutely. Royalty, political, all of these things. He was indicted and put into federal prison. He was on suicide watch for a while, which obviously anyone who knows about suicide watch means extraordinary measures are taken for you while you're incarcerated at that point in time. Your sheets are taken away. You're not even able to wear shoes with laces like me today. Check out the video. But just days after being released from suicide watch, he somehow hung himself in his jail cell. No one was around. His body was in the cell for hours, which seems bizarre to anyone. This isn't even a conspiracy, just as a fact-based person. Why is someone that is this high profile left unattended days after being on suicide watch, which means this person has displayed
He tried to kill himself.
Yeah, to try to kill himself. And here he is unattended with the things that he can kill himself with. And then henceforth was found
and
hours
shocking,
later
he
dead.
kills himself.
Yeah. And so people are
So here comes the conspiracy
right
theory.
now.
So I'm going to tell you guys right now.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know who killed Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein may have killed himself.
Maybe.
But he 100% had assistance, and he had assistance for the simple reason that he was funding or producing or was in charge of underground illegal sex ring.
I mean, they have...
And he has dirt on a lot of insanely high-profile people, so he was killed. Including potentially our president, potentially ex-presidents, potentially English royalty, a lot of people.
So you think somebody was hired to kill him inside the jail?
I don't know if
prison,
somebody was
whatever.
hired to kill him or if they were allowed him to kill himself. That I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
but I
he's
think
dead.
the point is he
He's
needed to
dead.
die, and whatever way they needed to do it, they did it.
I mean, there's just like unbelievable true allegations against him. Like, this is not a conspiracy, but like he owned his own private island in the Virgin Islands. There are now women who were then children who've come forth and said they were on this island, their passports were taken from them, they were basically held captive. He had a temple, some sort of temple in which these acts were performed in, and this went on for decades with some of his closest employees all knowing what was going on.
I mean,
and it took this long to bring him down.
I knew about the original story. I just didn't know about it in this the depth. It's disgusting.
Yeah, so the theory is...
So it's almost okay that he's gone, or I'm happy that he's gone, I should say.
Yeah,
for
yes
somebody
and
that did
no.
something-
Yes
why,
and well,
why no?
because if you were a victim, wouldn't you like to have him spend the rest of his life in prison instead of
Or
an easy out?
even be able to talk about who else helped him in this scenario or partook in this scenario. As someone who worked at a child serving nonprofit for a long time, I'm very passionate about children's rights, and like these female children were taken advantage of, and like there are other co-conspirators that we will now not know about.
Well,
because he
absolutely,
did
but
this.
I don't know if somebody that at that stature, that much having that much power would even
So
say
much power.
anything.
So here's the
So
thing,
you know what I mean.
Steve,
So keeping him alive, that would be my debate. Keeping somebody alive whose tax dollars, are going to this disgusting person for the rest of his life, or
So
Girl,
here,
bye.
okay.
Girl bye.
Yeah.
Girl bye.
So Jeffrey Epstein is dead, right? We get that. But the point is, it's like, how did this happen? So here's some facts. The man was on suicide watch. The person that was supposed to be watching him and checking every 20 minutes hadn't checked up on him in hours. His cellmate was removed a few days earlier. The man tried killing himself 6 days ago. He was still on suicide watch, which means you were monitored 24/7. And I showed a whole article that said it's actually physically impossible to kill yourself on suicide watch. You can't.
Did they get in detail how they found him?
They said he was hanging. There's an autopsy. We won't know. I mean, the bigger picture is, it's like, what does the public not know? And Michelle said something right off the bat. It was Jeffrey Epstein's made an insane amount of wealth, and it's like no one knows how. So the theory, or not the theory, what people think is...
This is a conspiracy.
Yes, this is where people think his money came from, is that he was extorting high-profile people because he was setting them up in positions to have sexual...
Encounters
with minors, and that he was illegally he was filming it and recording it, and then he used those tapes and things like that to tell people like whatever, like this is how
them?
this is how he got his wealth, and nobody.
Dark.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
In the age of like Forbes, when wealth is so coveted and how people become wealthy is so well documented, and it's part of pop culture fascination, to have someone who isn't an American, who has all these high profile friends, and not be able to fully understand how he accumulated his wealth is very bizarre. I mean, we
Very
can like
bizarre.
sit down and talk to Jeff Bezos, and we know every red penny that he made from this point, or Bill Gates, or all these other billionaires. Warren Buffett, more complex in how he made his money, but we know exactly how he made it.
Right.
And so to be on this world stage and not have a very clear breakdown of an American billionaire is weird.
Yeah.
High profile American
It's
billionaire.
fishy.
I mean,
is what
maybe
it is.
with
It's
the
fishy.
money situation, but I feel like there's a lot of people that have like secret lives.
But this
Do you know what
person
I
was a
mean?
high profile person. It's not like a quiet billionaire that never discusses it from some particular industry that is obscure and not Hollywood-esque. I mean, he was hanging out with the founder of Victoria's Secret. He had model, literally some of
Which,
the top
by the way,
models in
Michelle,
world.
how does the founder of Victoria's Secret invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
Yeah,
And at one
exactly.
point,
No
he was
one
like
knows.
a school teacher in the 70s. Like, the guy's got a ridiculously
I mean,
bizarre
in the
story.
80s, he was charged with
So
rape.
bad.
The guy's been let off or been slapped on the wrist, if you will, for previous charges of sexual misconduct with minors. So, look, I'm telling you right now, either this is not the U.S. government had him killed.
Anyway, we'd love to hear your opinion. We'll put up some polls on Instagram. Follow us at Style Club Media. No, it's Style Club Radio. I'm very worked up right now.
Yeah,
but, we'd love to know your opinion too. We're gonna
come back to this, but it really is insane. I mean, with all the crazy news that's out there, this is one that I'm actually looking forward to investigating a little more. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, but speaking of investigating,
Detective DeMarco.
Right after this, right after this little commercial break, we're going to bring in someone that is not on Suicide Watch.
No, he's an amazing person and it has nothing to do with the topic we just
change
discussed.
the direction.
We'll be back right after this. This is Style Club Radio with Josh DeMarco, Steve LaSanchez,
and Michelle Miller.
This is Style Club Radio with Josh DeMarco, Steve LaSanchez, and Michelle Miller.
If you are listening on your radio or on radio.com, you can be watching us on Facebook and interacting with us at Style Club Radio on Instagram.
Yes, so guys, we're back, and our next guest, was a client and is now a friend and a client, and it's someone that I respect, and I feel like I really respect his world, because before I knew this gentleman, I thought his world was the world of Don Draper from Mad Men. And while it may have been 30, 45 years ago,
60, I don't know.
60, before all these laws came to play. Without further ado, we're sitting here with Patrick Hardy, the chief, hold on, I write this down, I gotta get this right, the chief creative officer of Tierney Communications Agency. Right? Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
That's an incredible title.
It's an incredible title. And advertising is incredibly important. We know that. We own a business.
Yes.
Advertising is huge. And Patrick, I think for our audience, just give us like a little rundown, like give us your background, how you got in advertising, and then we're going to go a little deeper into like how important advertising is.
Okay, cool. I wish it was still the Mad Men days. I wish those days don't really exist anymore, and we do have a lot of fun. But I got in advertising really by accident. I grew up in Kentucky, and I have two older sisters, and somewhere along the way, my mom decided I was going to be a writer and that I would go into marketing in some capacity. And so it was never really a plan. I studied political science and Spanish was my major, with an English minor lit. And a minor in English Lit, and so the first thing I wanted to do once I finished college was get as far out of Kentucky as I could. So I moved to South Beach in Miami in the early 90s. Ooh. And I sold advertising. I being a Spanish major, I thought I'd find some great job in Miami that let me use my Spanish. And then I realized there were people, native Spanish speakers, that spoke Spanish and English better than I did. So I ended up
They probably spoke English better than you as
Absolutely.
well. Because
I'm from Kentucky. Yeah, imagine someone from Kentucky trying to speak Spanish. Nobody understood anything I ever said. So I got a job selling advertising because I kind of liked the idea. I thought I would go from ad sales to editorial. And once I started selling it, and it was classified, like bottom of the barrel in a weekly. And I was selling like early back then. It was the 900 sex hotlines and yard sales and kind of used cars. And so I don't know how creative that can be, but I realized that it was somewhat of an outlet. So after that, I became a travel writer for Delta and traveled all over the place, kind of selling destinations. And at that point, a friend of the family's daughter was at this school in Atlanta called the Portfolio Center, which was like a 2-year master's program, the equivalent for copywriting. So I moved to Atlanta after 3 years in Miami and studied copywriting and realized that advertising was what I wanted to do. So after moving all over the country, I took a job in Phoenix, which I hated, came to Philly for 1 year on my way to New York, and 22 years later, I'm still here. So that was my path.
Amazing. I have a quick question. Can you, or it's actually not a question, it's actually a request.
Sure.
Can I hear your best rendition of you speaking Spanish with that?
I can tell you.
Come on, turn on your acting skills.
If this were Mad Men, I would have had a few scotches by now, and I would even sound worse. I mean, so I studied in Spain, in Madrid. So imagine those poor kids that I would walk in and, I mean, tell me something to say. Like,
Hi, how
una
are you?
cerveza, por favor. And
One beer.
yeah. Perfect. For me, I would, I like rum.
Yo hablo
So,
español.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Bueno.
Un poquito.
Sí, yo también. Pero it was for my mother still to this day says, I can't believe I wasted all that money on your education and you don't even speak Spanish.
That's amazing.
And I try to say, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was a waste.
It was a learning
Yeah,
curve.
it was a stop along the way.
So you're in Philadelphia. Why did you say you had 1 year stopover and then you never left?
Well, Tierney, has been an agency. It's actually 76 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I came to Philly I moved to Philly to work for Tierney, and it was a really huge television agency at the time, and that's what you wanted to build your TV reel, and I thought it'd be a good stopover on my way to New York, which is where all my friends had moved from Atlanta and various places. And, I fell in love with Philadelphia. I fell in love with Tierney and realized that, a kid from Kentucky, if anyone said you're going to end up in Philadelphia, I'd be like, no way. But Tierney just became a place that every year I was able to creatively reinvent myself early in my career. And then as I grew, it was an agency that I could be a part of a team that was helping to reinvent and evolve with the changing landscape that now makes up what we do for a living. So every year, I kind of assessed, is this the year I leave, because my creative director, is changing, or am I still growing? So I think even after 22 years, the question has been, am I still growing? Am I helping the agency grow? And am I helping the people who work for me grow as creative people? And so I never dreamed that I'd be there for 22 years, but it's been a great place for me to grow my own career and then be a part of growing other people's careers.
That is so thoughtful.
Right?
Yeah, and you know what?
really is.
I found a really fun fact about you.
Oh boy.
I am the stalker.
He's an Insta stalker, internet
But
stalker.
I was randomly Googling you, and I came across this site. I can't remember the name of the site, but it says that 91% of your employees like you.
Of mine,
91.
personally?
That's what it said. Yeah, your name came
okay.
up, and I found this fun fact. So.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I
mean,
do.
that's what
I
I think
do.
it's a really.
I don't know. I mean, that's great for me to hear. Can you send that to my boss? Or send me the site?
Now, see, this is how I think. Wouldn't you want to know the 9% that don't and know why they don't like you? Like, I don't care about that.
I could probably name them.
I think I might know one or two.
Scandal.
No, I think that is, culturally something that, creative people and people in our company, we always ask the question whether you work, on the creative side or in the PR side, or, the skills are skills. And, you can have 10 people that have the same skill set, but culture you can't really put a price on.
Right.
So when we interview people, we do cross-departmental interviews to say, would this person fit in here and would they be, fit our culture or add to our culture? Or not that everyone looks and sounds and thinks alike, but would they complement the culture? So I think that, from our top down, from the CEO, down, it's really about making sure that people feel they have a path to grow. And I hope that is something that people would say about me or all of us. But I still like to see that website.
Yeah, I'll forward it to you. It's on my computer at home. I just didn't.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It was meant as a compliment for sure.
Yeah.
But just tell us a little bit about your management style, because obviously, if all these employees like you, just a little blip, or just like you don't have to go into too much detail. But
Okay.
Yeah, I was
think
gonna
it's
say,
important.
Any leader that self-evaluates every year, and part of your self-evaluation is something as thoughtful as, am I helping other people around me grow, is very telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me caveat that with that. It wasn't always the way I was. I think, you, especially on the creative side, but I think generally in business, so I speak to what I know, which is the creative side of advertising. So I'm a copywriter. My background is writing. If you're a good writer and you win awards and you win business, you get promoted. If to senior writer, and then you make it up this path. No one ever really teaches you how to be a manager. So then I think you get in this position. You don't know how to cope. You don't know the skills. So then you have to really take a step back and think, what did I value in my bosses previously? And so I think when I really took a step back, it was the people who took an interest in me personally and growing my career and teaching me. Yeah. So I think what I have tried to do, and all of us try to do, is make sure that this isn't a job. And when people come to me and they resign because they're leaving to go to another place, I say, go be great. And I think that's the last thing I say to every person that leaves. And if the time has come for them to leave because they need to grow to the next level, and we're not giving them that, then I say, go get it, go grow.
Yep.
And maybe they'll come back. We have this like huge return rate of people that have gone away for 2 to 3 years, learn new skill sets, and they say, I want to come back because, the people here were amazing. So I think that, when you look at work and agencies, they can be equal. They can be, one can be off the charts creative, one can be off the charts and not creative. But at the end of the day, you got to give people a place to feel they can grow and expand their skill set that either will provide value to them at that place or the next place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's so
I
exciting.
could see that on Tyranny's wall when you walk into work every day.
I know.
Did I answer the question, or did I block and bridge? Which is another thing
You
I've
left
learned
us all
to do.
speechless. You might be the first guest ever. I'm sitting here like,
I know. I just started pondering it.
Right? I was too.
When you get to a point you're not the one doing the work, you need to make sure that the people who work for you feel like the work that they're doing really matters and that they're supported. And I think support, especially with millennials, they need to feel supported and that you've got their back. And then, at some point they do need to leave the nest, and you have to support them then as well.
In my experience, I've always understood that people constantly want to learn.
Yeah.
If they're really passionate about what they're doing, that they just always want to learn. And you've always said that about keeping yourself educated, and just always knowing and learning the next step.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
All right, so guys, we learned a little bit about Patrick. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and see how Patrick plans on taking over the city.
Oh, okay.
Style Club Radio with Michelle Miller, Steve Sanchez, and we'll be back right after this.
Now back to Style Club Radio with Josh DeMarco, Steve Sanchez, and Michelle Miller.
Welcome back, everybody, and we are sitting here with Patrick Hardy, the Chief Creative Officer of Tierney Communications Agency in Philadelphia. And Tierney has done a lot of things in the city that, one that I happen to see every day. Patrick, I know you told me, we talked about that you helped introduce the Bank Human platform for advertising. Does that sound right, or did I botch that?
TD Bank.
Yeah,
TD Bank. Yeah, sorry. I use TD Bank. I happen to love that America's most convenient bank is Canadian. And so
I don't know what you're talking about. They're headquartered in Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
yeah, Toronto Dominion. I found that out like a year ago.
Oh, TD?
Yeah, Toronto Dominion.
You just like it because it's on the corner.
It's very. It is
Good
America's.
hours. Good hours.
It is America's most convenient bank
Yeah, that's
because
the
it's on
slogan.
literally every corner.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had worked with a legacy bank called Commerce Bank, and we started working with them when they had 40 stores. And then when they merged with TD Bank, we helped grow them to 1,300 stores.
Oh my God.
So they do have this like crazy convenience platform, longest hours.
Which I love.
What are their hours?
I feel like they
put up with
disrupted the industry with
They
their
100%
business model.
disrupted the engine. It started, most banks at the time were opening like 9 to 3, and they realized that people would have to spend their lunch hours waiting in line. So they extended the hours to make sure that they could get to people after work, which is when you go to the bank. So they opened earlier and they opened later. So I think many of their urban locations are like 7 to 7 or 8 to 7. I forget the hours.
There's
exactly.
a reason that we in America say banker's hours, right?
Yeah.
And TD Bank, I forget I have a client that works with them, and he was saying that I forget the name of the guy that started TD Bank, but he treated it like a retail store, not a bank. That's so like we're talking about the hours.
The founder of Commerce was a
Commerce, right?
was a restaurant franchise owner, and so he created the bank to model the customer is always right. And so this many years later, TD's still living up to that and providing, the best kind of customer service, whether it's online or in store. So
Well, if you created the bank human concept, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, I think, they put the customer first and the convenience, and it wasn't about, so yes, they're high tech and high touch. So it was making sure that their customers could reach them any way they wanted. And they have these like over-the-top customer service goals. There's no, barrier between the customers. There's greeters at the door. And they're just really, built around the customer.
So is that a bank that Tierney went after, or is it more like an ad job? Because I feel like when I think of like a TD Bank, I feel like they're very different than other banks. I mean, you guys, we walk by all the time right by Dapper, the TD on RH.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a campaign that you guys created?
We did. I mean, they're very localized, and so that was a way to tie this particular store to the Rittenhouse neighborhood so that people that live and work here would know that's their personal bank. And so they've always, whether it's a grand opening, they kind of saturate the neighborhood and they speak to business owners as well as regular consumers to say, this is your neighborhood bank. We live and work here, so come be with the local bank.
Dapper Bank's a TD Bank.
That's right. What are some of like your favorite campaigns? I mean, being the chief creative officer, clearly you're not just doing copy anymore. Yeah. What are some of the silos of advertising or the advertising industry that you get to like touch on or be a part of when you guys are getting a new client and strategizing about their campaigns? Like, what do you oversee?
Basically everything. I mean, when clients come to us, what they do in this day and age is like they come with a challenge.
Yeah.
We need to get more of these people, or we need to change the perception of our brand in this way. So what's unique about Tierney is we have all under one roof. We have advertising, public relations, social media planning, and buying. Many agencies don't have that. Some are creative boutiques only, some are media shops only, and then they will partner. And what we bring to the table is we literally sit down the hall from each other. So when a client comes to us with, hey, we need to get 50,000 more customers, or we need to change the perception get our customer sat scores or JD Power, we can all sit around the table and say, okay, so you're going to go do this part of that, you're going to go do, and then we literally, can meet at the table where other agencies are like, let's call our partners and try to schedule a conference call. So everything from, to me, some of the most interesting advertising that's happening now, I don't even know that I would call it advertising anymore. It's really how you experience a brand. And, so the buzzword is experiential advertising. So when people, run into a mall or a street corner and there's some kind of art exhibit or kind of big screens, that one of the most amazing ones was done by an agency that's owned by Interpublic Group, which owns us as well, RGA. And it was the Love Has No Labels, and it was that big screen where the skeletons were behind it, and they were dancing, and they were showing, same-sex couples, interracial couples, disabled couples, and it was like that love knows no boundaries. So, that advertising in this day and age is about changing a perception. It can. A joke we often say is it's not brain surgery, but the power of social media and an idea to really change people's perceptions, not just of how to sell a product or buy a product or upsell a product, but like make people care about each other. I think that's one of the things we did with Independence Blue Cross as a customer of ours, or client of ours. And we don't even like to say client, we like to say partner. We have a campaign running that there's caring in all of us. So in a time of like heightened political warfare, and I know you said you're not discussing politics, but you did discuss Jeffrey Epstein. Here's a health insurance company that cares at the core of what they do, and the campaign that we're running for them right now is like literally saying we should all just care for each other, and they've been caring for this place for the last 80 years. So it can lighten the load of this world that we're living in. We also did the couple years ago. Within the LGBT community in Philadelphia, there was a lot of racism happening. People were being profiled and not let into bars. So we had a team. It really this is, one of the things we also are really proud of Tierney. It's not top down. It can be bottom up. People came to us and they're like, we want to do something. So we're like, if you want to do it, bring us an idea. So they, it's very simple. We took the gay pride flag and added the black and brown stripe to be more inclusive. And the city of Philadelphia adopted that as the official LGBTQ flag for the city of Philadelphia. And that literally is changing lives and impacting people. Yeah. And that's kind of the fulfillment now that I think people in the creative industry want. It isn't just selling product. It's how can we change the world and maybe make it a little bit better because creative people are just driven to be a little weird,
Yeah.
and they need different fulfillments. A lot of
Yeah.
creative
Oh, you're
people aren't.
telling us. No, no.
I mean, money's great, but a lot of creative people aren't really driven by money. They really want to see themselves be able to make change in the world.
And I think
Yep.
the way that we're consuming now, like younger people are so much more invested in where a company stands ethically, morally, what they do to give back. And like, so as we're buying our widgets here and there, you have a much more informed,
They research.
quote, woke
Yeah.
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
It makes things very different for
And
you.
they do make decisions. I mean, if you look at companies like Tom's,
Yeah.
you buy a pair, they donate a pair. That really is moving people to research the brands that they want to engage with. So we have to be very conscious to be reflective of who the customer is, to make sure they see themselves in the advertising they see, or public relations even, and that also that they feel that they're shared values. So it really changes the game from Don Draper, which literally was, we're going to tell you how you should feel about this.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. People need to feel this brand gets me. I see myself in that brand, and I want to be a partner to them. I want to support them because literally they're spending their money, and they just want to make sure that they're spending it with someone that they agree with.
And also, there's part of it where you have to be very careful, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays. Because there's so many
Opinions.
and emotions and
We don't want to talk about the SoulCycle fiasco.
Well, and you can also misappropriate. Like if you look at
Right.
the Pepsi debacle with the Jenner,
Oh,
like that.
The Jenner.
One of
Yeah.
them.
They all run together.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was an in-house creative department that thought they had a great idea, but they didn't have the strategy or kind of the research behind what a real agency can say. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
People
Right.
will see through that. So it
Yeah.
also has to be authentic, and that's a skill. The agencies now have research departments and strategists that are saying that will never fly, and the creative people have to be more sensitive to that. It's no longer like, here's a spot, you're going to like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it.
exactly. Well, I was thinking, because what made me think about it was Dolce & Gabbana had an ad, and it was like
In China?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was
Terrible.
like terrible.
Or the
And-
Gucci sweater, or whatever that thing was, that was like part mask, and they had to take that. I mean,
Oh, I mean, well, Don Draper era, they would use like straight up self-esteem issues and shame
Good
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them.
to get people to buy things.
I was born late. I mean, I started, at Tierney, and I would hear stories of the 80s. I was like, that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, hey, Patrick, likewise, because when you hear stories about hairdressers in the 80s, this is nuts.
Yeah, they were advertisers and hairdressers were all doing all the wild
Partying
craziness.
and
That's why we
having-
love
and
each other. We're a
finance
generation
guys.
too late
Right, exactly.
for all the fun stuff.
Wait, Patrick, where can people find out more about Tierney? Or I mean, I am interested in it. It's such
Yeah.
a powerful ad agency in my city. Do you guys do public things? Is it checking on
So we have a
media?
website.
Yeah, website.
HelloTierney.com, and as well as Instagram, Facebook.
Tierney.
HelloTierney.com. Yes, Tierney. An interesting thing about Tierney, we're 76 years old, and we were started by two guys from NWA, which is the first ad agency in Philadelphia. We've had about 20 different names, but Tierney is our
Can you
name.
recite them all to us? Do you know them?
LGK. No, I can't. Too many. Too many.
Too many, but now it's Tierney.
HelloTierney.com, yeah.
I like that. Did you think of that?
It is cute.
We did. It was friendly, and I think anytime we meet clients, the first thing, hello, is always an icebreaker.
Yeah.
If you say hello to someone, chances are they're going to answer you back, as opposed to like, so here are the 3 things you need to know about me.
Yeah.
It's hello, and you're going to probably say something back, and that is both what we do with our clients, but it's also what we do on behalf of our clients. Is we hope to start a conversation.
Yeah, I like that.
I
So
like that.
it's large advertising with a more interpersonal feel,
Yep.
right?
Got it.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I mean,
Thank you for having me.
Of
This was much
course.
easier than I thought.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
everyone's so nervous, but we don't bite. Well, Steve does sometimes.
I bet he does.
When he's in that mood, we keep him in the back.
Patrick Hardy, Tierney Advertising. You guys do great work.
Thank you.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You might as well just hang out this segment if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to chime in, we'll let you.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I'm going to sit here. Okay.
Yeah, hang out with us.
I won't breathe heavy in the mic. I sound like a creeper.
or fall asleep.
Yeah, no.
All right, guys. We'll be back right after this. Thank you again, Patrick Hardy. And remember, go to HelloTierney.com for more awesome ad information.
This is Style Club Radio with Josh DeMarco, Steve Sanchez, and Michelle Miller.
If you're listening, I'm going to say it again. You could be watching. We are on Facebook, and you can interact with us on Instagram at Style Club Radio. And now that we're back, I heard that Steve has just a tip to share with us.
I do. I think we should have a little jingle before we do just the tip.
Just
I like that, yeah. You need music like a cue.
Right?
Yeah.
Cute, yeah. But so, all right. So I was cleaning out my closet today, and this is like probably the third round in
Okay.
like this last year. I'm just trying to like kind of like get rid of stuff.
Marie
and-
Kondo your life?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I went from like a big, really big closet to a not so big closet. So it's challenging, but this is something that I've kind of learned. I read and I learned, and it actually helps. And so basically, when you're going through your closet, I mean, first I think you should categorize it, but then pretend like you're shopping from it and ask yourself, would I actually buy this? And when you see it and you're like, and you're even hesitant, get rid of it.
Michelle, did
Does
you
it
hear that
spark
tip?
joy? Yeah.
Did you actually hear that tip, Michelle?
So many things bring me joy. I'm a joy-filled person, hence my closet is enormous and packed to the gills.
But if you don't wear something, I mean, really, you say like, ask yourself, would you buy it?
I did buy it.
But would you buy it again?
Right.
I like that tip, Steve.
Right?
I do.
think, and it's helpful. It's
I
helped me a
support
lot.
that. I do.
It's helped me, and because my closet's like, I mean, I can't even like separate my shirts to get one out. I have to take like 8 out and then kind of look through what I
I've
want to wear.
never seen Steve wear the same thing twice either. He's
Yeah, you
just
have.
like,
You haven't?
really? I
Or
don't
maybe
think
you
so.
have.
I have.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess.
But that's a good tip. Like simplify things.
Reduce,
You don't
reuse,
need-
and recycle.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think
Yeah,
Michelle
well-
would buy it twice.
I would probably buy
Everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Some things I bought double of to begin with.
so
Good thing this isn't a finance show and that it's a style show. I'm right where I belong.
Well, speaking of style, Patrick is dressed quite nice today,
Oh,
I
my
have
goodness,
to say.
always.
Yeah,
Thank you.
wonderful. And I love the
Always.
coordination going. If you can't see him, he's got this great,
Oh, you'll
like,
see him on-
like kind of like a taupe brownish with like a light blue
Hot
check.
seat.
Yeah, and then like
let's just read Patrick.
Great.
no, I think it's
shoes.
great. I just want the listeners to like understand what he's wearing. It looks great. And then these like which people wouldn't think to twin this together, but this like cream kind of denim, and then this beautiful Prada shoe that has blue and brown, which kind of ties the whole thing
I believe
together.
that says Etro.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's that true.
Oh,
Stola's not a
sorry.
great reader.
Don't insult the man.
Oh my
Steve.
God, and that is like, oh my God, I'm like so bad.
Josh read
I'm
you.
gonna- right, you did.
I was like reading here. I'm like, that says Etro.
Oh, I saw the stamp, and it is very combo, Prada combo, the navy with the brown.
I can see it.
I want to quickly add it, and we didn't. I wanted to ask you this because you said this to me maybe a couple years ago, and it always struck
Oh,
a nerve
boy.
with me. No, it's about back to the whole like tyranny, and more or less just for anyone listening, for evolving in a career.
Yeah.
I think you said something along the lines of when the digital age came, you gave people that had been around the agency a longer amount of time to try to go from print to digital.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people did and some people didn't. So do you have any advice or what's made you be able to evolve? Because, I mean, with what you do and with technology,
Yeah.
I mean, advertising has changed immensely in the last 30 years. So I don't know why. That just kind of made me think that could really apply to any.
Yeah, I
profession.
think I gave them a chance as a little, not exactly what I said, but I
Yeah,
think
I was being polite.
we as a company
Yeah.
needed to, therefore everyone that worked there needed to. I think that it was one part like study the hell out of what's happening and learn, like constantly learn. I'm, chief creative officer, but I learn every day. But part of my learning comes from, reading online and going to seminars, but also hiring people that know that skill and let them teach you. So I think that is something that not everybody is comfortable with, but I think you have to be. As younger people enter the workforce that are, digital natives, they can be smarter than me, and I'm okay with that. They can be smarter than any of us, and we have to celebrate them and say, at first it was sit next to me and make me smarter, and then it was like, okay, now I've learned enough to be dangerous. Sit 2 people away from me and make sure I don't sound like a jerk.
Yeah.
And then it's just elevate them and make sure that everybody in the organization, is adept and versatile. Specifically, again, in our industry, of all the different channels. print's not dead, television's not dead. It's just a part of a bigger mix. So there's print, digital, television, social,
Radio.
experiential, radio. None of that's really going away. So even, when we go on a TV shoot, TV now it's just called video because it's going to be on 10 different platforms.
Yeah.
So I think it's learn and adapt, evolve, and be comfortable surrounding yourself with people that might be a little smarter than you or might know something that you don't know, and let them make you look smarter and ultimately be open to learning from them.
Yeah.
Right. Love that.
Good advice.
I think that's huge. I mean, mentoring, evolving is important in all industries, and it's important for all people who find success. I know with hairstyling, Josh does so much education for other people, and he's always like lending advice, but at the same time,
But I never let them sit to be better than me. That's the thing.
He's taught me how to trim my own
I'm
sideburns.
totally
oh, look
joking.
at that. But you also have some like really big mentors that you
Yeah,
look to
of
all the
course.
time, and industry peers at the same time that you
Yeah.
guys are learning from. It's, I guess, to never just.
I don't think any of us
complacent.
ever stop learning.
Oh,
if you
never.
stop learning,
Some of us do, but we
You shouldn't.
We definitely
Yeah.
shouldn't. Yeah. If
But
we stop
everybody
learning,
in these
continue.
chairs, I don't think, stop.
No, because I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
to be
For
good
sure.
at whatever you do. You got to realize that what I was good at yesterday, it's going to be different tomorrow. The needs are going to be different tomorrow, and I think that transcends industries.
Nature says if you're not changing, you're dying. right?
See? And,
I'm too young to die.
Me too.
Samesies.
Well, this applies to stuff too. I mean, but the man that mentored me in cutting hair always said you're only as good as your last haircut.
Yeah.
So you do one now, well, tomorrow that doesn't count. Like what's next,
Oh.
right? So you always have to evolve.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
in fashion, you're only as good as your next collection
Yeah. Or your last one.
or your last
And
one.
Michelle, you have to give one. We've all given one.
Well, I work in a creative space too, or fundraising. Like, you're only as good as your last event, or the last check you brought in. So.
And we're living in a world that people ask, "What have you done for me lately?" And that is
Jody Watley.
Well, yeah,
Love her.
that is what we all have to live by.
I like that. Well, once again, Patrick Hardy, Tierney Advertising and Communications. What do you guys go by?
Tyranny, but we are an advertising communications company.
All right, well, we're going to talk off here because I think Tierney needs to do Dapper's PR.
Right? I don't know that we can afford them. I don't think we realize how big they are.
We love Dapper, and
Friends.
That's a way. That's a
I think
no.
probably 10 of us come here to get our hair cut.
Yes.
That's right. We're heavily supported by the Tierney family.
Well, Patrick, you've been great. Thank you for sharing everything with us. I mean, it's inspiring. It is. You've had an immense career, and we hope you just keep mashing out these great ads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope so too.
Congrats.
Experiential marketing. Like it.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to see you next week. And remember, do a little internet search this weekend. Jeffrey Epstein, the U.S. government killed him.
Yes.
Bye.
Clean
Bye.
your closet.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.